It is a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Tetsuo Nakamoto, who is a dentist. He was born in Hiroshima, Japan, went to dental school in Japan. Now he lives in Kenner, Louisiana. And I was so excited to hear about his thoughts on theobromine. So his alma mater is Nihon University School of Dentistry, Tokyo, Japan, 1964. University of Michigan Graduate Dentistry, Denture Prosthesis, 1966. University of North Dakota Department of Physiology and Pharmacology, 1969. University of Michigan Department of Physiology, 1972. MIT Department of Nutrition and Food Science, PhD, 1978. You are unbelievable. I think you have more years of education than any dentist I've ever met in my life.
Probably I had known I have been a student so long I would have never started, but I keep on going. Somehow it took a long time, but it was it until I finally found what I really wanted, and as soon as I finished MIT, I got a job in LSU. At that time called LSU Medical Center and School of Dentistry, as well as School of Medicine and the Department of Physiology as an assistant professor. And then I started primarily teaching and research, but research was more fascinated to me. And I really enjoyed this is a part of my research, what I really did in the past 35 years.
That is an amazing story. I'll just tell them a little bit. You are the mastermind of Theobromine, a safe and effective alternative for fluoride in denture phyces. During the process of studying caffeine's effects on developing teeth, a serendipitous discovery was made. Teeth compromise hydroxyapatite, HAP. Ingestion of caffeine caused the formation of smaller crystallites of HAP in the developing teeth. This resulted in the increased release of calcium and phosphorus ions from the enamel surface when exposed to acidic solutions in vitro. Furthermore, animal study confirmed the hypothesis that smaller HAP crystals cause the increased incidence of dental caries. In contrast, theobromine, which is similar to caffeine, cause formation of larger HAP crystallites. And today you're going to give us a presentation on that?
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yes, I will go into all the history and how we developed all these things and in practical matter.
Fantastic.
Okay. The Theobroma cacao, it means a food of God. I am retired from the Louisiana State University Health Science Center. They changed the name, and now the Professor Emeritus, and we formed the company called Theodent, and I'm the Chief Scientific Officer and the Chairman of the Board, and Theocorp Holding Company, Theodent. As I said, I have been interested in the caffeine, and being a dentist, I thought one day what effect of the tooth on the caffeine ingestion is going to affect. And because as you know, I got the PhD from the nutrition, and the nutrition most effective during the pregnancy and early lactational period. So my primary work is during this critical period of the effect of the nutrition, and the past 35 years is probably caffeine. And we bought the Sprague-Dorey rats, and at the time, they litter were delivered within an 8-hour period in each group combined, and eight pups are randomly assigned each dams, and then control randomly divided by control groups, which was fed 20% protein diet, or the experimental group with the 20% protein diet supplemented with caffeine. The amount of the caffeine supplementation is 2 milligram per 100 grams of uh, dam's body weight. This is approximately is comparable of the human 2 cups of coffee, assuming that 1 cup of coffee contains 100 milligrams of caffeine. This is 100 milligrams of caffeine is approximately the average. And if we express the data as a metabolic body weight means that dependence on the different body size disappeared. That means you can compare with the size of the rat as a human or size of the human to elephant. You see the different, but you cannot compare to kilogram to kilogram basis because of the size. Okay, so we have to use the metabolic body weight. And as you can see in the animal, first 22 days is during the lactational period. And this is the control group. This is the caffeine group. As you can see, the growth of the baby, which is, don't forget, I fed the caffeine diet to the mother, and as a result, baby sucks the milk, which is milk contains the caffeine, and the baby is getting the milk indirectly, okay? Not directly caffeine, indirectly through the milk. And you can see the weight of the during the lactational period between the control caffeine group did not show any difference. And at 22 days, in case of the animal, it is a weaning, which means animal become independent. And when the animal become independent, at that time I stopped the experiment, and then I took the first molar from the babies, and then the corrected first molar, and then we put the special designed chamber inflow outflow post, as you can see, then pump the 2 millimoles acetic acid, 20 millimoles acetic acid solution pH 4.0 at constant flow rate into the chamber, and then affluent solution were collected, as you can see from the following diagram. As you can see, I put the 2 teeth under here, 2 teeth under there, and the total 4 teeth in the chamber. And then from the infusion pump, you put the acid solution to the constant infusion, and passing through this chamber, and then correct the aliquot every 20 minutes, and then determine the calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. When we got this data, which I didn't expect it, but anyway, the amount of the calcium, amount of the phosphorus, amount of the magnesium, every 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, 80 minutes in each parameter. As you can see, the caffeine group shows a much higher release compared to the controls. As you can see, the significantly higher amount of the calcium, phosphorus, magnesium. This was a really surprising finding. And this is the electron microscopy study which was the beginning of the exposure of the control group, and this is the caffeine group of the surface of the enamel. And after the exposure of the caffeine, after the exposure of the acid solution, this is a control group, and this is the caffeine group, which was the surface of the teeth was completely kind of destroyed. When I get to this data, I could do this until I know the teeth is made by the hydroxyapatite, just like a bone, and I didn't have a facility in my laboratory to study the hydroxyapatite, so I had to look around the New Orleans area, the university, and I found that the University of New Orleans Department of Geology, geophysics, which is they study the stone, but stone is the hydroxyapatite, and they have a lot of facility to study the hydroxyapatite. And I brought this data, and I wonder whether they can help me to study what is happening this on the teeth. And they suggested, why don't you smash the teeth, which is the first molar which extracted. I have combined about 100 to 120 teeth in the each control group or caffeine group, combined and smashed, and then there is a method to separate by the centrifuge method between the enamel and the dentin, and we got a very small amount of enamel portion, and put that pure enamel sample to the Gandolfi X-ray powder camera and determine the crystal size. This is the data which we got. This is the control group. This is the experimental group. As you can see, this experimental group has a much bigger, larger, broader line compared to the control group, which suggests that caffeine group has a smaller crystal size compared to the control group. What this means, I will just explain simple example. For example, if I have 1 gallon water in one jar and another jar 1 gallon water, and then first jar 1 gallon water, I put the 1 pound of ice, and second jar I put the 1 pound of ice, but I smashed 1 pound of ice and put the second jar, and which one dissolve faster? Of course, the second one dissolve faster because of the bigger surface area and of this. It is the same reasoning that because of the bigger surface area, as a result, smaller crystallization, smaller crystal size exposed to the acid becoming released much more than the controls. This is a reason. Now, as a result for this, we found the reason. So I said to myself, if it is really true, if I raise the animal in the same way, and then if I give the cryogenic diet to the animals, and then to take the again the teeth, and then if I can examine the Carrier score, there is a method to determine the Carrier score, the detailed Carrier score measurement, and as a result, we have found, as I hypothesized, significantly higher. As you can see, these are the area of the carriers compared to these are the control group. Up is the control group. This is the caffeine group, which shows, in fact, if the person is to take a lot of caffeine during the critical period of growth, teeth is affected and tend to become dental caries, as is shown in the animal studies. This hypothesis turned out true. From this study, I have been almost took the 4 or 5 years, and I asked to him, this takes so long time. I wonder whether there is easy way to produce the hydroxyapatite in the laboratory. And the one of the technicians said, yeah, there is a simple way to produce the hydroxyapatite. So he showed that in vitro crystal study that he showed me the zero point 0.5 moles aqueous solution disodium hydrophosphorus adjusted to pH 7.4 or heated 95 centigrade and 0.5 mole aqueous solution calcium chloride added, and then after the 6 weeks result was obtained, and then during this period we gave the various concentration and various concentration of the xanthine. Caffeine is a part of the xanthine, and xanthine has a lot of different kind of xanthine, as I show you. So that I wanted to examine whether caffeine and another xanthine is the same effect to in vitro study. And this is the scan mode with 300 reflections, which showed if we have the full width half maximum peak height divided by maximum peak height at 300 reflections, this shows that the value shows the crystallinity, and if the value is lower, this shows the better crystallinity. On the other hand, if the higher value crystallinity is lower or smaller crystallinity, lower value is a bigger crystallinity, this means, okay? So after we did the experiment, what surprised us is this. The control groups is 0.75. Caffeine came out 1.0, 1.90. As you can see that the value is bigger than the control. That means crystallinity is smaller. But what surprised me, these are the various xanthines. What surprised me is the theobromine is turned out 0.15, 0.19, which is much smaller value, which means a much bigger crystal formation. This was a really surprising finding, and this was really unexpected finding from this in vitro study. This is the, for example, 300 reflections. The control shows like this, and theobromine showed like this. And this theobromine group shows this is the one, okay, about 2 microns size. of the teeth, whereas control group, this is not the one, smaller one, okay? These are the one that you can see that zero point 0.5. In another word, compared to the controls, the the theobromine group, the size of the crystallization is about 4 times bigger uh, formation. So I said myself, if it is really true in vitro study that theobromine is going to cause the bigger crystallizations, just like caffeine causes the smaller crystallizations. If I do same experiment, instead of supplementing the uh, caffeine, instead of that, if I use the theobromine, uh, just like 20 control group is 20% protein diet, and the experimental group 20% protein diet supplemented theobromine, and the result should be reversed if I do the same experiment as I did in caffeine study. So that was my hypothesis, but I wasn't sure. When I did, the supplementation of the theobromine was 1 milligrams per 100 grams of dam's body weight. This amount of the theobromine is correspond uh, based upon the metabolic body weight is approximately slightly more than 1 to 3 bars of 1 ounce of milk chocolate for the 65 kilogram humans. Okay. After the 22 days, I took out the teeth, and then as mounted as the caffeine studies, and then infusions, and I pushed the acid solutions and corrected the acid solutions and analyzed the calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and I corrected every 20 minutes. Okay. Then, as you can see, calcium. As you can see, the calcium. This is the control group. This is the theobromine group. As you can see, that calcium content was decreased every 20 minutes compared to the control group. As as you can see, my hypothesis was right that by feeding the theobromine, crystallization in vitro study shows the crystallization become bigger. By feeding the calcium, crystallization become bigger. So that as a result, if you expose to the acid solution, there is less released to the, uh, as you can see, phosphorus. Phosphorus, can you see the significantly reduced every 20, 40, 60, 80 minutes. And this is the magnesium significantly decreased compared to the control. So the result become reversed compared to the caffeine supplementation, and theobromine is as it was shown that bigger crystallization, and as a result the exposed to the acid solution become much less released. So the next question is, what is the how it will become a bigger crystallization, and how is bigger crystallization means. So we use the electron microprobe analysis and phosphopentaoxide and calcium oxide determines weight percent. Don't forget weight percent. We determine the weight percent of the phosphorus and calcium, and average, look at the average, 37.11 and 36.90. This is control and the experimental group. And calcium, 53.01, 52.55. The value is approximately the same. This means that crystallization become bigger, but calcium phosphorus ratio is proportionally went bigger. As a result, crystallization become bigger. In another word, calcium phosphorus is becoming bigger, the proportionally, the compared to the control. In other words, calcium phosphorus ratio is the same between control and experimental group, but proportionally more the in the theobromine group as a result and becoming a bigger crystallization. That was the this electron microproof analysis has shown. So from this data, overall content calcium oxide and phosphorus pentoxide appears comparable with the expected margin of error, and this suggests composition of the crystallite of the enamel between control experimental group are the same. So composition is the same. Okay. Structure of the composition. This is the caffeine. What is the caffeine? Caffeine is a 137 trimethylxanthine. 137 trimethylxanthine. Theobromine is a 37 dimethylxanthine. Only the one position of the methyl group is not present, whereas the caffeine group produces the smaller crystallization. Theobromine, because of the only one position is lacking, it is reversed completely bigger crystallization, crystal size between the theobromine and the caffeine group. So what is the effect difference of the caffeine and theobromine? Caffeine is relatively quick, and the main effect of the human being is the increased awareness, whereas the theobromine effect is more subtle and causes the mood elevation, which is milder, lasts longer than caffeine. Okay, and theobromine to caffeine. Theobromine half-life is about 6 hours, whereas caffeine is about half-life is 2 hours, and also the the theobromine is not physiologically addictive, whereas caffeine is addictive. How much theobromine? Theobromine is present approximately 1.89% in the chocolate. One cup of cocoa contains approximately 240 milligrams per cup of theobromine. 1 ounce of bar of milk chocolate is range of 45 to 100 milligrams of theobromine. And to become a toxic 143-pound human being to achieve a toxic, this one has to eat the 86 1 ounce milk chocolate at one time. So you have to eat quite a bit milk chocolate to be toxic. This is the study of chocolate in the 1950s. Gustafsson provided the chocolate as part of the Carrier's research on patients as Behemont Mental Hospital, Sweden, and the increase in carious activity during chocolate ingestion period was less than expected. In other words, he thought by giving the chocolate that it is going to become an increase of the uh, dental caries, but because of the because of the because of the caries activity was less than expected, he hypothesized some kind of caries inhibiting constituent in the chocolate might exist. That was, he thought, that was in the middle of the 1950s. 10 years later, 1966, Stralfors, he did about series of experiments using the hamster, why it is chocolate or cocoa is decreasing the dental caries. And I didn't go into in detail in each articles, but first one he presented is the according to hamster studies, if you give the diet 20% of the cocoa, there is an inhibition of the dental caries 84%, whereas if you increase cocoa powder to the 10%, there is an inhibition of 75%. In another word, increase of the cocoa powder, there is an increase of the dental caries, of the inhibition of the dental caries by increasing the cocoa powder. And he tried to find out what is going to affect to the cocoa powder, and he couldn't figure it out. In the he presented about 4 articles in series articles 1966, 67. 2000, Oshima in Japan, he studied in the cocoa powder and the and to study the cocoa powder, cocoa extract against to the dental caries, and his conclusion was there is some sort of anti-caries potentials exist in cocoa, but it wasn't significant enough to reduce the cariogenic strength in the cocoa powder. That was his conclusion. Now, coming back to the fluoride, fluoride, history of fluoride toothpaste. Oldest reference of the toothpaste actually occurred in Egypt 4th centuries, and fluoride was added to commercially 1914, but commercial use fluoride was actually discouraged American Dental Association in 1937, but 1950 fluoride received the ADA blessing, and first fluoride toothpaste was started 1955 by but as you know, possible effect of the fluoride is now it is becoming very clear that recently fluoride and IQ, that is, if excessive fluoride intake area shows the children his decreased IQ, and fluoride is going to affect the developmental brain affect and could affect to the autism. Fluoride affect to the pineal gland, which is calcification uh, of the gland, and pineal gland release the melatonin, which is the hormone. This melatonin relate with the rhythm and sleep, and if the calcification occurs to the pineal gland, and rhythm and sleep might have affected. And fluoride and bone disease is related, malignant bone tumor, and fluoride thyroid gland. Fluoride might cause the hypothyroidism. These are the well-known, well-reported fluoride effect. And this is a toothpaste. Toothpaste, usually toothpaste contain the 0.25 24% sodium fluoride, and content of the sodium fluoride is 0.15%. Prevalent is 1.1% sodium fluoride. This is a very high sodium fluoride toothpaste. Some children, especially very young, are probably getting the more fluoride they should. It has been reported that toddlers are ingesting 30 to 70% of toothpaste contains fluoride. And fluoride touches becoming embedded and crystalline, high hydroxyapatite, hydroxyapatite. This hydroxyapatite, by touching the fluoride ion and becoming fluorohydroxyapatite. This is why the fluorohydroxyapatite become pH 4.5. Usually, hydroxyapatite is going to be dissolved at 5 pH 5.5, but because of the hydro, fluorohydroxyapatite become released at the 4.5. This is why this substitution by the fluoride makes teeth slightly more resistant to the enamel resolving acid excreted by bacteria. This is one of the reasons they use to prevent the dental caries. And many kind of juice, drinks, soda pops contains enough fluoride, and typically 3 years old at optimal intake without counting any other daily resource. In another word, there is a lot of source of fluoride naturally with intake without even adding the fluoride. Fluoride all over us, fluoride literature around us from the time we woke up. It is present, we bathe, shower, consequently absorbed by our skins, and it is the same water supply we drink, and as I explained in the most of the toothpaste. As I explained, and when I was studying the caffeine, and I found that the theobromine, and as far as I knew, theobromine is the only alternative of the caffeine, alternative to the fluoride, as far as I can see it. But I try to convince a lot of people to the theobromine, but I wasn't successful, quite successful. And then, as you remember, 2005, we had Hurricane Katrina, and New Orleans is really devastated, and all the school was closed, and we had to move to the school to the Baton Rouge, near Baton Rouge, and everybody has to, a lot of people left the New Orleans. And this gave us a great opportunity. In a way, I explain in the following. At that time, I had one day, a friend of mine, I have been doing the study with pediatricians in the past, and she had a son, and the son used to come to my laboratory. And he said, because of the devastation of the Hurricane Katrina, he finished all the study work, but he had to finish the thesis, and his main study terrain is bioinformatics. And I said, when the mother called, his name is Arman. Arman was going to do the PhD thesis with some of the other people's, some of the mentor, but because of the because of the hurricane, he left, and there is no person can guide, and unless he finishes the dissertation, he cannot graduate, he cannot get the degree. And I wonder whether you can help me. And I said, yeah, I can help you, but I don't know too much about the bioinformatics. But I will talk to Arman. So I get together, Arman get together, and I said, Arman, what kind? I have a patent, and I really wanted to do the comparative study of the theobromine and the fluoride, and I wonder whether you can do this study as dissertations. And she said, yeah, I can do it because my bioinformatics thesis is using the neural network program, and all he has to do is he need really good data, and we put this data to the program, and then this program can determine whatever this program tells us. That was my thesis. So that I am interested in the the difference, if there is difference, to study between the fluoride and theobromine and control groups. And and we get together and we collected the teeth, and to study, we made a lot of hypotheses, and then in the end we use a scanning electron microscopy observation and nuke microhardness test, and how the nuke microhardness test is going to affect the surface of the teeth by exposing fluoride or theobromine solution or control group. Nuke microhardness test is performed every day for a period of 8 days on each sample, and data recorded day 1 represents a baseline hardness, and then experiment second day, sample 30 minutes exposed to either sodium fluoride solution or theobromine solution, different solution, okay? And then after that, placed in the artificial salivary solution, and then sodium fluoride and theobromine solution, and then rinsed and with the distilled water, and each sample was studied, nuke microhardness test, and then put in the rest of the day artificial salivary solutions, and this was repeated until day 8, and then end of the day 8 we took the micro hardness electron microscopy pictures. Theoretically, what we expecting is, I don't know whether this is true or not at the time, the control group, this is in the beginning, when you make the nuke hardness test, you make a dent this size, but because of the control group, hardness on the surface probably doesn't change, so that as a result, end of the day 8 probably didn't change too much. Whereas, for example, fluoride treated surface, the day 1 is like this, but over the period of day 8, this, because of the surface become harder, so that the dent becomes smaller. So this is theoretically become like this day 8, where in the fluoride treated group. Theobromine group become a much harder, and then day 8 become like this. That was our hypothesis. Turned out, when we finished experiment, please notice, this is a log and millimoles. This is a concentration of the various concentration of the theobromine and various concentration of the fluoride. Regular fluoride concentration of the toothpaste is this much, 0.24. This is the area. Okay, this is a 1.1% of fluoride, and this is comparable with the this area, which is, can you see the very low amount compared to the fluoride solution, which is much smaller fluoride compared to the fluoride, but much become effective hardness to the surface of the teeth. Teeth were coated with theobromine appearance with cleaner under the electron microscopy, especially when compared to the control teeth. This is the surface of the control group of the surface, and this is the sodium fluoride surface. This is the theobromine group, which is surface is very nicely covered with the calcifications, as you can see. We did a study. This is the surface of the teeth. We scratched the surface of the teeth and took the pictures. And then we put in 30 minutes of the theobromine solution, and then looked at, covered completely of the surface of the scratched surface of the teeth. This is a very important point. This is a 1100 years old Mayan skull, which you can see 3 embedded jade. You can see these Mayan cultures, only the wealthy can take the cocoa, and cocoa is part of the like monies, and then another interesting thing is in order to embed the jade, they had to drill the teeth, but it is practically impossible to drill the teeth in exactly the same way. So they must have had some knowledge to cover or to fill the space of the jade. We made the experiment which surface of the teeth was scratched, and then under the theobromine solutions, 30 minutes, it is filled nicely, which is again coming back to the Mayan. In fact, 1100 years ago, Mayan already might have known that cocoa might have a calcification or preventive effect to fill the all these space to fit the jade. That was this amazing knowledge they had, we think. And we did the acid dissolution study. This acid dissolution study was a teeth was a sample covered with small uniformly cut circle of double stick tape, and then rest of it is a covered of the nail polish, and then either 0.15 sodium fluoride solution was placed about 30 minutes, and over 100 milligrams theobromine for 30 minutes, and then we exposed the 10 minutes for 0.001 normal HCl acid solutions. So these are the experiment of the area which exposed, and then we looked at 24 teeth, and 23 of which we have sex and age data, and then compared to this. As a result, as you can see, the sodium fluoride release of the calcium is 0.93, the theobromine group 0.848. That the difference is about 0.82, which is about 10% less. In another word, theobromine group released about 10% less calcium compared to the sodium fluoride in the acid solutions, suggesting again the theobromine is making teeth harder. So the extracted teeth provided sufficient side-by-side comparisons, and then we are hoping gradually replace the fluoride of the based of fluoride based to the theobromine based toothpaste. That was our desire. So after we get all these data, we decided to form the company called Theodent, and I tried to sell the idea, but nobody is interested in. So that I said, "What the hell? That I am going to do the by ourselves." So I said, we started making a toothpaste. One is we made three different toothpaste: classic, kid, luxury toothpaste, and the classic toothpaste, minty, and kid toothpaste is a chocolate toothpaste, chocolate taste, and the another one is called 300 luxury minty toothpaste, and this is the toothpaste which we produced. This is classic, this is kid, this is 300 luxury toothpaste we produced, and then we got the Theodent Red Dot Design Award 2012. This is comparable honor to the Apple's or Audi's, Porsches, Mercedes-Benz, all these famous people got all the Red Dot Award. And this toothpaste, Theodent toothpaste Red Dot Award Design Award, is the first one we ever got the Toothpaste Design Award in so far. And when we got it, student win the Red Dot Design Award was reported in the Times Square in New York, as you can see this. The student Emmy Award, student has been selected to one of the only 900-picked items for 40th annual International Emmy gift bags. So we selected student toothpaste as a gift bag. And when we start selling, we keep on receiving the email that from the people, consumer, that in fact your toothpaste, I used to have a hypersensitivity, but I I no longer I no longer have a hypersensitivity to the teeth. So we decided to do the study whether this is true or not. This is the one day use the toothpaste, and this is the second day. This is the third day. This is the 7 days. So this is 1 week. And this is the classic toothpaste. And this is the Sensodyne 5000. And this is the Colgate regular toothpaste. And this is we made a special Classic Plus, added the fluoride, and to see what is fluoride is going to affect. It turned out fluoride didn't have any effect. And as you can see, that within 3 days, almost the surface covered by the surface of the tooth was probably covered very nicely. This is why uh, tooth sensitivity is released, as I can show you next slide, that compared to the Sensodyne, you see, we or regular toothpaste doesn't do anything. So look at this Sensodyne compared to our toothpaste is much better. The As you can see, this is the beginning of the surface of the dentin, and then after the classic toothpaste, a week later, all the dentinal tube is filled, and this is the Sensodyne. As you can see, you can see still holes, and then this is a regular toothpaste, and this is the Classic Plus fluoride. It is about same. So this, as you can see, this is a our toothpaste is in a way really unique. I would like to acknowledge the research. This Al is really helpful from the University of New Orleans, and his boss, Bill Skip Simmons, and Arman is the student, and now he is the CEO of the student.
Just simply outstanding. Ryan, there is a thread on Dentaltown called Made in Louisiana Chocolate Toothpaste Could Revolutionize Oral Care. When this podcast comes out, let's drop it right in there. You can go there and just comment Mark if you want it on your today's active topics, or just do a search for Theodent. And Dr. Tetsuo, I really wish you would join Dentaltown. There's 250,000 dentists on Dentaltown, and 50,000 of them have downloaded the app. And we're going to drop this. You can do a search on Dentaltown. There's a search bar, and if you put Theodent, there's a couple threads talking about Theodent, but they're actually requesting you to talk to them. They've got questions for you. Would you mind going
Okay.
on there and answering their
Sure.
questions?
Sure.
I just posted a picture of you and me podcasting, and then when Ryan, do you know when this video will be released in that thread? Okay, And we'll put the podcast in there so they can hear your whole presentation. It'll be an exciting discussion.
Okay, sure.
And congratulations. How many years of college did you have total? Was it 35?
I was a perpetual student.
Well, I just think it's so fascinating when somebody just breaks through all the barriers and stays focused on something for so many years, so many decades, chasing down a thought, an idea. How is the toothpaste sales doing?
Toothpaste is the most of the whole food store is selling in the United States and Canada, and we have a very nice Russian lady is interested in, and in fact, Arman and Janssen now in Russia, and they are selling, and we have the England and Europe and Hong Kong, and we have Japan, and we get the. We haven't started selling yet, but we got the permission to sell in Japan. And Europe in general, some of the countries they are interested in, and
well, that is outstanding. I cannot wait to post this podcast. I can't wait to also drop it in the discussion board under Theodent chocolate toothpaste made in Louisiana. And sounds like we're going to educate a lot of dentists around the world about your research.
Well, I really appreciate I had the opportunity because when the first time I discovered, I knew I had something, but because of the dentistry, they a lot of only fluoride, and they don't want to look around beside of fluoride. And even I gave an idea, but nobody was interested in until, as I said, Katrina came and devastated everything, and they gave devastated New Orleans, and they gave an opportunity to again for my life. That was an interesting opening up the.
Man, you've had a long journey from Hiroshima to New Orleans. What a life!
Yeah.
What a life story.
Yeah. I think particularly it was interesting that the bad things happened like Katrina. It is a really bad situation. You are completely wiped out in New Orleans. But turned out this is the best thing that happened for us.
That is amazing. Good for you. That shows you how strong your will and character is. Even Katrina was a boost to you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you answering the questions on the message boards.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farran. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Ryan.